Hey, Husker fans, welcome back to the Husker Big Red YouTube channel. I'm Chris Peterson, and joining me as always is Danny Gillette. And we're back here on this Thursday for another episode of the podcast. And we're going to talk about a few things. Matt Rhule kind of making the waves in national media again, as a joke of his was taken out of context. But we'll talk about that and some of the national media columnists taking shots at him, calling him soft even. So we'll debate that. We'll look ahead to the Super Regional for the softball team taking on Tennessee as they look to advance to the Women's College World Series. And the Nebraska baseball team with a miracle victory, I would say, on Tuesday night. We'll see if they can keep it rolling, win 2 years in a row. So before we get into all that, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and as always, get into the comments section. And yeah, Danny, how are you doing on this Thursday morning?
I'm doing pretty good. Just very interesting. The rundown of headlines you just mentioned. Just mentioned there, it is peak slow news season, and yeah, that's why we get hot headlines from writers such as Ari Wasserman.
Yeah, Ari, excuse me, Ari Wasserman coming in hot, I guess, on Wednesday. Not the only one, but I mean the organization he works for on three. I would say I have a bigger problem with what On Three did on Wednesday than what Ari Wasserman did. Whereas Matt Rhule was doing an interview with Steve Sipple and Sean Callahan of Husker Online, which he does, I would say fairly frequently. I mean, I see
Yeah.
him do interviews with those guys probably twice a year. I mean, on their YouTube page. Like, this is probably the second or third time this year I've seen him do this. He's very gracious with his time, which I think is a great thing. And they were talking about playoff expansion, which is an obvious topic because, it's in the news. It's been just discussed recently that it would be expanding to 16 teams, yada, yada. Matt Rhule made a joke off the cuff about, oh, let's make it 40, let's expand it to 40 teams. And, he did make some other comments, I think, that were, I would say, in favor of expansion. And some of his I guess reasoning is, like the Big Ten plays 9 conference games, where you just have some other teams playing 8 conference games, whatever. And at any rate, that definitely rubbed Ari Wasserman of On Three the wrong way. And essentially, he wrote a column. To sum it up, I would say he called Matt Rhule soft. And he mentioned this, and then he also mentioned his conversation that he had like with Urban Meyer, talking about like scheduling non-conference opponents. Like, why would you want to schedule a tough non-conference schedule? And I don't think it was beyond Matt Rhule, and some other coaches have been said similar things like that. So at any rate, that's kind of setting the table. So what do you think about all of this, Danny? What are your thoughts on what Ari Wasserman wrote about Matt Rhule?
I feel like it's very easy to take shots at Matt Rhule because he gives so much time to the media. I also think the On3 social media team put it in a very clever way to get clicks and engagement, and that's what they wanted, and that's what they got. And so, I don't think Matt Rhule said anything wrong, and I think Wasserman was just trying to create headlines, and then to respond to fans in the comments of the article, kind of only proved that.
Yeah, and it was interesting. He said he actually talked to Matt Rhule last night. Ari Wasserman, I was looking up his social media feed. Just had a wonderful call with Matt Rhule. Great guy and great convo. Can't wait to talk about it today. So he's going to talk about it today. Yeah, kind of interesting. I'm trying to get the full column up that he had here. Because yeah, I thought it was. I thought it was interesting. Matt Rhule, he has said some things that have rubbed me the wrong way over time. Sometimes I think he talks a little bit too much, and um, you know, I get what he's saying about when he was talking to Urban Meyer, and this is one of the quotes that Ari, included in his article about that he Matt Rhule told Urban Meyer on the Triple Option podcast, and he said, "Why would you ever play one of those games? If we're being completely honest, Coach Meyer, I'm at a lucky point in my 4th job, and after getting fired in the NFL, I kind of say where I feel nowadays. I could care less. In a world where a Big Ten team who's already playing 9 conference games, why would you ever play one of those games?" So yeah, and then Ari kind of responds back to that saying, why would a competitive coach want his team to play a big non-conference game, like kind of sarcastically, why would you want to do that? Rhule, he said that Rhule isn't the latest coach to do that, to say that's not the only one. but yeah, there are some other interesting things. Rule, I guess he did say, the more spots, the better. We're playing a really, really tough league. We're playing really, really good teams, and you know what? If you play in this league, you deserve a chance to get to the postseason and see what you can do. So, I mean, I think Rule's definitely advocating for more of the guaranteed spots, which I don't have a problem with. I know a lot of people do. I know a lot of people are mad about this 16-team playoff. I'm not. I think it's better than the 12-team playoff. I think that Big Ten teams do deserve guaranteed spots because, frankly, they do play a tougher schedule. They play 9 games, and like I don't think that there's a way to accurately compare the SEC and the Big Ten to the ACC and the Big 12 and these other conferences. So I do think that there should be some automatic guarantees, but I don't know. What are some of your thoughts, I guess, on playoff expansion? And certainly, I don't think that Matt Rhule is soft, but I don't necessarily like the mindset of like we're not going to play some of these better teams because it gives us a better chance at making the playoff. Like I do agree a little bit with the criticism there. Like let's just go. Like Ohio State's not running from anybody. They're playing Texas. They're playing this is 2 teams, probably the 2 favorites for the national championship, are playing the first game of the season. So I mean, I do wish that Nebraska had a little bit more of that mindset.
They're also playing Ohio and Grambling State the following 2 games.
Yeah, I mean, I get that, but but still, that's better than playing 3 nobodies. I mean, I get it, and the schedule's going to change into the future, but I just don't like. I think if you're good enough to make the play, like I honestly think if you're good enough to make the playoff, I don't think your schedule is going to matter that much. Like I just don't really believe in trying to schedule yourself, into the playoff, and I think that that's part of what Nebraska and some of these other teams, are trying to do a little bit with avoiding, better teams in the non-conference schedule.
Also, I think a lot of these schedules were made even before all of this playoff stuff began. So I think once we phase those out, then we might see a little bit more competitive schedules, especially with 95 teams in the Big Ten Conference.
Yeah, see, I mean, I think the thinking is to go the other way, and I don't know. We'll see. I just think it's going to be really boring. The first, I think that college football already plays too many meaningless games. I think they need to cut down on the regular season schedule because, like, honestly, Nebraska does not need to play, Sam Christian, whatever the hell they're playing. They don't. Why do they don't need to play that game? That game should not even be
no, it is
on
Sam
the
Christian,
schedule.
you're right. Or Akron.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna look
Akron,
that up.
both of those games. It's Sam Christian, whatever. I don't know. I don't even care.
Akron might be academically ineligible, so I don't know if we're gonna even see that.
No, they
game.
won't be academically ineligible for that game, just for their bowl game. But really, those 2 games are meaningless. Honestly, they're so Nebraska can pad their checkbook. Other than that, they don't mean a damn thing. Other than trying to get bowl eligible, you know what I mean? So like, and every college football team plays those games. Georgia, Alabama, Michigan, Notre Dame, Ohio State. They all play at least 2 games a year that are completely mean. They might as well be preseason games. So why have them on the schedule? If you're going to have this 16-team playoff, like get rid of those games, play 11 regular season games, make them all matter, like play 10 conference games, play 1 actual non-conference game between, like, force these Power 4 conferences to all play each other and play like 11 legitimate games. Like that's what I'm begging these college football teams to do. I'm just so sick of like 20% of the season being like Nebraska against Akron in a game that we know Nebraska has like a 0.00.1 chance of losing. Like, yes, they could lose that game, but it's like, come on, it's a joke. And so I am sick of those kind of games, and I would like to see college football get rid of the, I hate to say it, but like the Pinstripe Bowl. I mean, I know Nebraska went there, but that was a meaningless game, and I really do think that college football needs to get rid of some of these meaningless games, and so maybe cutting back the regular season and expanding the playoff to like 24 or 32 teams wouldn't be, the worst idea. I'm for it if it gets rid of Nebraska against Houston Christian, because I mean, come on, that game's kind of a joke. And as a fan, it's kind of a joke that you have to spend full price to go watch that game.
I mean, beat UTSA or even Northern Iowa last year, we don't make it to a bowl game. So I mean, last year it helped us.
I mean, no, I get what you're saying, but like, I don't. I just on the. I mean, yeah, to make to a bowl game, to you win a meaningless game to basically play in another meaningless game. Like that's what I just think college football.
Well, I think we need to get rid of the bowl
games
before we get rid of any of the regular season games, because by the time bowl season happens, you have so many players not playing. You have, injuries. You get to see some new players. Freshmen showed out last year for Nebraska, for example. But I think first they need to cut down on the bowl games and then worry about the regular season after.
Well, yeah, I agree, but I think part of that is like, why is Nebraska playing Akron so they can get 6 wins to play in the bowl? Like, so I feel like if they got rid of those meaningless bowl games, you would have maybe, I don't know. I just think they need to completely revamp the college football schedule because, if you're going to add a 16 team playoff, and then if you're going to have a Big Ten play-in type tournament with the top 6 teams, I mean, then you're looking at 4 teams from the Big Ten that made the playoff that have played 13 regular season games. Now, if one of those teams was to go on like an Ohio State, like Ohio State would have had to play 17 games this year if that was them. If they were, if they finished 4th like they did this year, they would have had to have played that Saturday against I don't even know, Illinois or somebody, whoever was 5th this year. So Ohio State would have had to beat Illinois to get into the playoff. Then they would have had to have won those 4 games. So you're looking at a 17 game season for these guys.
Like the NFL, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean that's getting crazy to me. That's getting way too crazy. And they just don't need these extra games. Like, Michigan does not need to be playing whoever the hell they're playing, outside of Oklahoma. I don't even know. And that's like, Alabama, Georgia, they're all going to do the same thing. Just get rid of those games. Cut out one regular season game, go back to 11 games. And then make it, if you're 6-5, you can play in a meaningless bowl game if you want to. But I really think if they're going to expand this thing, they do need to cut back on the schedule.
Yeah, no, I do agree with that. But I mean, so many teams rely on those first couple games to, get to their win goal, whether it be a bowl game, whether it be better positioning for college football playoff, that it would be tough to get rid of, overall.
Yeah, I think so. But if I honestly think there's more money to be had again, which is what drives every decision in college football. But I do think if you got rid of some of these really boring games, I think there could maybe be more TV money involved with it. I don't know. I'm just kind of spitballing. I'm not sure exactly how we got down this road, but the whole scheduling part of it, I think college football is going to get really boring if like the first 3 weeks of the season, everybody in the SEC and the Big Ten and if they're all too afraid to play anybody, like then what's the point? Just cancel the first 3 weeks and start conference play. Like if everybody's just playing a cupcake schedule, like what is the point of even having that part of the season? I guess is my point. So I don't know. I understand where Matt Rhule's coming from, but it gets to the point where it's like, okay, well, if everybody's just going to play 3 cupcake games, let's just get rid of that part of the schedule. And just play some actual football games. And if you want, what I think what teams should do, I think that Akron, if Nebraska wants to play Akron, they should have played them 2 weeks ago in the spring game, like the volleyball team did. There's no reason that football teams can't do that. They just don't want to, but they could. They could sell out Lincoln Memorial Stadium. They could have Akron come here and play in the spring. It could be a preseason game. You could make a bunch of money and then play real games in the fall. You can play your fake games in the spring. That's what I've always thought.
I mean, that's definitely a good idea. I know there were rumors that Colorado was going to try to play a team in the spring, but I mean, I think the whole spring system needs to be overhauled too. But the way college football is set up now, it doesn't work with how things are working in present day, and there needs to be an overhaul of how things are done in general. And yeah, I think spring and the first couple weeks of the regular season would be a good place to start.
All right. Well, now I do think that it's a little unfair though to, I do think that Matt Rhule gets singled out. And I do think especially the On3 people who took a joke, and I guess I didn't really make this point, so I just wanted to make this before we move on. But he clearly, like, if you look at the clip where he's talking about the 40-team playoff, he's clearly joking, he's clearly laughing, and they took that quote and they made it, they portrayed it as a serious quote, and then they put it on their social media. They even made a 40-team playoff bracket within like 10 minutes of this. So it's just like, come on, you guys. Like, I understand.
That'd be crazy. That would honestly be a lot of fun.
Yeah, well, when you see it's not the worst thing in the world. Now, 40 teams is probably too much.
Yeah.
But like if you got down to like an 11-game schedule and you followed the FCS bracket, it's not crazy. FCS does it. They've got 24 teams. The top 8 teams earn a bye. So it would be, your conference champions, maybe like your Notre Dame, like your top at large teams, your top 8 teams would get a week off. And then, your other teams, 9 through 24 play. It's all, on campus. And I don't know. I think that would work out pretty well, but I think you would have to cut back a game in the regular season.
Yeah.
We'll see, though. I mean, I just think college football needs to, if they want to expand, it's weird because they want to expand the playoff, but they also want to expand their own like conference championship weekends. And I just don't think that those two things have competing interests, because to me, the more you expand the playoff, like the less you have a need for a conference championship. And I think that that's something these conferences are trying to realize. And I think that's why the Big Ten and the SEC are trying to do these guaranteed bursts so that they can kind of incorporate, this playing system so they don't lose their championship game. I think that's really what this all is about. And we're not going to have a very good system until we separate college football and the playoff from these damn conference championship games, which have really been driving the show since 1996.
They should honestly just get rid of the championship games, but that's another rabbit hole to enter into.
I 100% agree with you, but it makes sense, except there's just so much money on the line.
Yeah.
It makes so much sense, except the fact that you'd be taking another game and just, so much money from all those TV contracts. So
I mean, honestly, the first Saturday in December and the SEC championship game on CBS has become, iconic. So, I mean, they're losing brand value too when they do that. So I get it, but I wouldn't mind doing away with conference championship games.
Yeah, I think it'd be a better system, if you had that weekend be the opening round of the playoffs. And in the FCS, they just, you can have co-champions, and basically like one team just kind of gets the automatic berth. Like, I don't think it would be that big a deal, because if there's a 2014 play, like if there's 2 teams that are co-champs of the SEC, like they're both going to make the playoffs. Same with with like almost every conference. Like, I just don't see a scenario where you're the ACC co-champ and you're not like one of the top 24 teams. So I don't know. We'll see what happens, but I do think it was unfair of them to, call Matt Rhule soft. And I think Ari has probably backed off on that a little bit. We'll see what he says today. I think he's just upset about that mindset, like where Lane Kiffin, I think, has kind of talked about that too. Like, oh, this is who we play. We're in this difficult conference. So I don't know. We'll see how it works out.
I mean, he wanted clicks. He got called out. Now he has to call Matt Rhule and backtrack. I mean, it was clear, by the way, On3 wrote what they did on social media and how they framed the article. I mean, he wanted clicks.
Yeah, well, On3 definitely, they're definitely the masters of that. So all right, let's move on to the Super Regional and Nebraska softball. We'll get to baseball in a minute and that crazy win on Tuesday night, but which we did talk about softball a little bit, but so Friday night they're going to be playing, I believe it's 6 Central Time on ESPN 2, and then Saturday they're going to be playing on ESPN against Tennessee. Now, Nebraska did beat Tennessee earlier this year 7-1 in a non-conference game. We mentioned this on Monday, but Tennessee's got Carolyn Pickens, dominant pitcher. She actually has a lower ERA than Jordy Ball, 0.9. She was the AP pitcher of the year, so Jordy did not get that award. Carolyn Pickens got it. So definitely like the marquee matchup of the Super Regionals in terms of pitching. Some other names to know, though. Taylor Pennell for Tennessee, first 2-time all SEC performer. They've also got Kiki Malloy, really talented outfielder. Sophia Nugent, I believe is the name. And she's been on fire, as home runs in each of her last 4 games, has 12 RBIs. So Tennessee also kind of hot right now. I don't know. Do you have any other thoughts on the Super Regional matchup for the Huskers?
One of the things that this softball team has been able to do well for most of the season is, find offensive, production. And when you talk about what do these teams do to get here, what do these teams do to advance to the next round, why are they so good? It's because they have a balanced team. And I think, players like Ava Cusack and, bats that can really, provide that production will be key in Friday's game. Pitching obviously is so important, but when you look at how this offense can come together and how productive they can be when they're firing on all cylinders, then I think those bats are going to be the key to Friday.
Yeah, so 106 home runs this season for Nebraska, 216 extra base hits, 452 runs now, all program records. And yeah, it's about a lot more than just Jordy Ball, like you mentioned. Of course, she's going to have to be spectacular in the circle. That's just at this point in the NCAA softball tournament, you need your ace to be your ace, and that's why Nebraska got her, and that's why. When they went into this tournament, I feel like that Jordy said we have a chance, and she would know. She's been at Oklahoma. She knows what it takes to win these games, and she's going to have to be spectacular. We'll see how they, kind of handle her, in the batter's box as well, because she's just as dangerous there. And if she can get 2 home runs, or regardless of whether Nebraska wins these next 2 games or not, if she can find a way to hit 2 more home runs, she would be the first college softball player ever to have 25 wins in a season and 25 home runs in a season. So that's something else to cheer for over the next couple of days.
Oh yeah, and like we said before, she is just superhuman. So I mean, as long as they have her, like you said, they have a chance. And I think it's going to be tough. It's going to be one of the toughest matchups of the season, but I have confidence that Nebraska can at least hang in there.
All right, so let's talk about Tuesday night, man. That was the craziest. So if you weren't watching the game, Nebraska was losing to Michigan State. I think it was 4-3 at the time. And basically there was 2 outs, and it was Josh Overbeek, I believe, hit a fly ball. Nebraska had a guy on second, and it was headed straight for the glove. And man, the Michigan State outfielder, don't know his name, don't really care, dropped the ball. And if you have seen the win percentage, it was like 99.9%. And I don't know if I've ever seen a win percentage probability, I guess, a win probability flip on one play like that, where it just went 99% one way to the other. But it was actually it was so funny, and so many Nebraska fans kind of alluded to it, but it was like Michigan State pulled the Nebraska. I mean, it was definitely like the punt return where we punted to the wrong side of the field, and it was nice to see the Huskers take advantage of one of those things for once, though.
I remember that, and I remember the win percentage graphics changing on that night too. But it was really interesting to see some familiar faces this time of year really step up. You had Gabe Swanson, being able to drive in the run. You had Josh Overbeek reaching on a fielding error. Cade Sanderson obviously putting together that single that scored Swanson. So, I mean, all the heroes, or a lot of the heroes, I should say, from last year came back to play again and perform again.
Yeah, Robbie Bolin with some big moments there as well for the Huskers. So so they kept themselves alive for another day in this Big Ten tournament format. This is the worst. This is the worst. I don't know who came up with this format, but it is terrible because, I mean, it's just, there's teams like Michigan's playing today and they have no chance of advancing. Like, even if they win their game today, they cannot advance. And so that is just, and they're not the only team. There's multiple. Nebraska would have been in the same situation if they had lost to Michigan State. They could not have advanced with their game on Friday night. So it's like, why are you having teams play in a tournament? I mean, I guess you could say like, oh, if they had a better at-large record, they could try to improve their, at-large opportunities, but it's still just a really weird format. And I mean, I understand why the higher seeded team wins the tiebreaker. I mean, the regular season should matter, especially in baseball. The regular season, I think, should matter more than 2 postseason games. But I don't know, make this a single elimination like softball or something, because I can't wrap my mind around teams going to the park and playing in a tournament but not having a chance to win the tournament. I mean, I get it, and that happens when you have pool play, but it seems like there's an overabundance of it happening here at the Big Ten baseball tournament.
Yeah, it's like, what are you playing for at that point? I mean,
yeah,
I guess pride, but you're right. This format absolutely needs to be fixed, and I feel like the timing of the game is very weird too, like the actual time the game starts and things like that. So I don't know.
Yeah, it has been weird. So today there's going to be 4 games today because I think there's some weather issues rolling in tomorrow. So what's interesting is that like Nebraska played Tuesday, they'll play again tomorrow night against Oregon. I think it's set for 6 Central Time, kind of the nightcap. but Oregon's playing today, and so Oregon's going to play back-to-back games, which maybe that'll be better in baseball. I'm not really sure. It's not that's what you usually do. You usually don't play, twice in 4 days. So we'll see what that advantage is going to be like. But I would say if you're Nebraska, I mean, you're playing at home. I know you're playing the regular season champ in Oregon, but you're playing for your season, and at least you're playing at home, and you're in a good situation. I feel like if they can win that game, then all bets are off in terms of them winning this Big Ten tournament.
Yeah, we saw them get on a magical run last year. Can they do it again?
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, they got Timmerman tonight. They had Ty Horn the other day, so Timmerman's going to go tonight, and we'll see, man. These guys, they find a way to put their best foot forward. They've been playing well. They're 2 games over 500 now. If they had, it's just so frustrating because it's like, man, if they had won some more of those midweek games, they would be probably in the conversation too.
I was gonna say, too bad every season series is not some sort of tournament incentivized type of format, or else we'd be rolling. We'd be the best team in college baseball.
Yeah, if you separated the season from that Oregon State series, if the season started there, I think Nebraska would be an at-large team, even with some of the midweek losses. Probably not like resoundingly in, but they started so slowly that it was hard to recover from that.
Yeah,
and you're probably not going to make it if you got to be a little over 500 than in your conference. But anyway, yeah, we'll see what happens tomorrow night with Tucker Timmerman. The sophomore, he's had some really good starts this season. I'm just assuming that's who's going to get the call tomorrow night. We'll see if he can put some quality innings out there. I feel like Nebraska is a difficult opponent for anybody in this tournament. So we'll see what happens. But they've got a nice little win streak going in Omaha, so hopefully they can keep it up.
I'm excited. I'll be able to watch some of these games on TV and not on SpongeBob 2 ESPN Network, whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, I refuse. I won't. I just won't do it. I can't. I will not purchase BTN Plus. I just won't do it. So.
No, I don't, because like you said, you pay a ton of money for not a lot of opportunities to watch games.
Yeah, and just the games that I have seen on there, like the production levels is really low. I'm not trying to be mean, but I would just rather listen to the Huskers.com radio broadcast than than pay. And I don't know. I just there's too much. I'll listen to it on the radio if I have to. But at least like you said, this time of year we don't have to do that. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, very good thing. And no streaming services either.
Yeah. So, but we'll be dealing with that soon, I'm sure, with Peacock and all that during this football season. So
yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if every single game was on some sort of streaming service at some point.
So if you're struggling with the Peacock, man, you can pause it for now and then get your subscription started back up in September. So
yeah, I mean,
that's what it is.
We'll see. We'll see how things go with these. But I miss the days when everything was on regular cable. And I know I sound like 95% of Nebraska fans right now, but hey.
Did you see the thing about how much money the average NFL fan's paying to see all the games on Sunday Ticket?
I did actually, and that just made me even more mad.
I know. I do think it's that's maybe a little over the boat, but it's pretty accurate. I mean, at the same time though, I also had Netflix and Amazon Prime before the NFL, so it's kind of I can't really say I'm paying for those just for those games, but
No, but not to go down this rabbit hole, but it's is cable or streaming service cheaper? And honestly, they're about the same now.
Yeah, I got it all, and it's crazy. I'm in debt up to my eyeballs for my streaming services.
Hopefully they pay you well over at the paper, just for your streaming services alone.
Yeah, but I'm gonna have to start writing it all off as expenses. So
business expenses, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right, you guys, we'll be back on. I'm going to be out of town covering some track here over the next few days, so we'll be back on Monday with our next episode, and we'll get into it as we move closer to the season. I'm sure we'll have some recruiting stuff. Maybe we'll throw out our game by game predictions here at some point. We'll have some stuff like that, some depth chart stuff. So, so check us out on social media and follow us here again on Monday. So thanks everybody. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and as always, go Big Red.
Go Big Red.